and welcome to the 2011 Mayoral Candidate Debate Forum. This debate is made possible by several partners, including the Defiance Area Chamber and Board, Defiance College and staff, Progressive News for their media coverage, along with DCTV for the recording and broadcasting. So please give a round of applause for those individuals. I, as Isaac Lee, President of the Defiance Area Chamber of Commerce, will be your moderator tonight, and it is my pleasure and honor to be part of this event. I welcome you all. Rules regarding this evening. Here in a few moments, each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening remark. The order of the event has been predetermined by chance a few moments ago. The order will be current Mayor Bob Armstrong, followed by Joe Uresti, Independent, and then following Mike McCann, Republican. At no time during this portion should the opening response be directed towards a fellow candidate. After opening remarks, the order will change, predetermined again by chance, also a few minutes ago. The order at this portion will go first Mike McCann, followed by Mayor Armstrong, and then rounding up Joe Uresti. During this portion, as moderator, I have a list of questions that were submitted to me previously from a survey that was sent out to the general public. I will ask the first question to Mr. McCann, as he will have 2 minutes to respond. Immediately following his response, both Mayor Armstrong and Mr. Uresti will each have an additional minute themselves to rebuttal and respond, in that order. Every question thereafter, I will rotate the order, moving the front candidate who previously responded to the previous question to the back and moving the second individual up. At any time during the point of their response, applause will be deducted from the total time of that candidate. After all questions that were submitted to me are asked, there will be a short break, 5-10 minutes tops. Following that break, I will open up questioning to the audience. Please be advised that all questions should be addressed to all three candidates, not addressing an individual candidate itself. All questions should pertain to the mayor's seat. Any question that I feel is inappropriate as moderator, I will ask for the next question and move on. Once you have asked your question, please return to your seat as we have mics up front who are being manned by individuals. Excuse me. At any time during the debate tonight, if someone becomes disruptive in any fashion, I do have the ability and authority to ask you to leave, and you will be escorted out of this premises. Remember, this debate is designed to allow the candidates to answer questions pertaining to the mayor's seat. At no point during that night will the candidates directly debate an issue amongst themselves or question amongst themselves. Assuming all previous items are clear, let's get started. Mayor Armstrong, your opening statement.
Thank you very much, Isaac. You know, 4 years sure comes around fast. I've been mayor for the city for the past 8 years, and I'm asking you to allow me to be mayor for the next 4 years. We're very proud of what this administration has been able to accomplish over the past 8 years, and we're looking forward to any challenges that the city might face. Defiance is alive and well. As I drove here tonight, it was great to see scaffolding at Holy Cross Chapel, scaffolding at our business fronts downtown, the field house here at the Defiance College, the new Bob Evans under construction. Jersey's and Azul Tequila are already near opening. We're growing and we're moving forward. The next 4 years, I feel, are the most important 4 years in our city's history. We have prepared our city for growth, and we are ready to reap the harvest. Our industrial park is ready, our downtown is ready, our Northside Business District is ready, and soon US 24 Port will be completed. This administration has done what is needed. I must add, at very little cost to the city. We have become the shopping focus of Northwest Ohio, as we provide a safe environment that welcomes visitors and encourages return visits. Fiscally, this administration has weathered what government calls the greatest depression since the Great Depression. Our budget greatest challenge. The state government is reducing our funds by $110,000 in this year's budget and $235,000 in next year's budget. We have made plans to accommodate the losses of the state funds by realigning our workforce. We have reduced operating expenses by $100,000 in nearly every department, which allows us to recover a good portion of the lost revenue, but more cuts are necessary. We've reduced manpower through attrition without any layoffs, and we feel very proud of that accomplishment.
Thank you. You may applaud at this time, if so. Joey Rusty, your opening statement.
Thank you. I'd like to start by thanking the Defiance Area Chamber of Commerce, Isaac Lee, Defiance College, Rich Beju, and Defiance Press News for tonight's debate. My name is Joey Rusty, and I am running for mayor for the city of Defiance as an independent. I'm married to Jennifer, my lovely spouse, who is here tonight. I'd like to say thank you to my spouse for keeping me grounded and focused for the last close to 18 years while I've been in public service, and for reminding me that you are a servant to the people and that they do not serve you. Thank you. We have two sons, Jason May and his wife Heather, and our granddaughter Dara, and Barney and his wife Alyssa, and our grandson Rover. Growing up, I have lived the majority of my life in Defiance. I attended elementary school in Defiance and graduated from Defiance High School in 1972. 4 days after I graduated from high school, I started working for Central Foundry General Motors, and I've been there ever since for the last 39 years. During the 70s, I attended Defiance, Adrian, and Northwest State Technical Colleges. And in 1980, I was appointed as a GM UAW Benefits Plans Representative, which is similar to the Human Resource Personnel job type. I have been functioning in this job as a customer service representative for the last 31 years, taking care of active and retired GM employees. Also in 1980, I was appointed as a workers' compensation representative and have represented injured workers before the Industrial Commission of Ohio for the last 31 years. In closing, I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time from your busy schedules to listen to tonight's debate.
And final opening statement goes to Mike McCann.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Thank you to the Chamber of Commerce, the Defiance College, and the Crescent News. Thanks to Mr. Armstrong and Mr. Uresti for being here. Thanks to the audience. Your participation in this process is extremely important. I am Mike McCann, a lifelong resident of the city of Defiance, president of ServiceMaster, a family-owned and operated business serving the Defiance area for over 40 years. I'm married to Lori, who's worked at the Defiance Clinic for 36 years. We have 5 amazing children, 4 wonderful grandchildren. Each year in October, we have a Make a Difference week. Why do I want to be your mayor? I will have a Make a Difference term. Not 1 week, but 208 weeks of growth, prosperity, collaboration, and excitement. I want Defiance to be excited about our Defiance. Not my Defiance, not your Defiance, but our Defiance. As your mayor, I'll work on economic development, implement ideas in the strategic plan. We will work to bring expenditures in line with revenues. We can't continue to spend more than we take in. I will work with local law enforcement to combat drugs, drug-related crimes, and all crime in our community. I'll work with adjacent political jurisdictions to enhance the quality of life in this region. Some say I can't build those relationships. If you don't want something done, don't tell me I can't do it, because I will. I'm going to work to resolve the unfunded mandate issues that we face now and for years in the future. I intend to establish a mayor's advisory board. Ask me about my ideas for that mayor's advisory board. I'm looking forward to this evening's debate. I hope to learn more about our community by the questions that are asked, and I'm certain that you will learn more about me by the answers that I provide. Thank you.
That concludes the opening statement for each of the individual candidates. Again, I remind you that the order now has changed. First question will be directed towards Mike McCann. From here on out, if you gentlemen agree, I will only use first names. Okay. Mike, and then I'll introduce the others as well to answer the 1 minute rebuttal. In 3 words, and explain, what does defiance mean to you?
It's my home. It's home for generations. It's where my children are growing up, some of them. It's where my grandchildren are growing up. It's how I've been able to live my entire life, from the days of shoveling driveways to mowing lawns. I owe everything to this community. Everything I have. And I didn't want to be emotional. It's how I feel. That this community is just part of me. Thank you.
1 minute rebuttal. Next will be Bob.
There's no rebuttal, honestly. I think we all feel that way. We have great people living in our community, and the longer I'm there, the more I recognize it. Each group that I go to and each group that I work with are givers. They're givers of themselves and their families, and they're all givers. The mayor is a giver. He's a giver. Everybody else is a giver because they want to be. That's a great thing. That's what makes it a great place to live. And I'm very proud to serve this community and really look forward to it.
Thank you, Bob. And last, Joe, response.
Yeah, the same. Like I said, when we talk about the community and want to be here, it's something that's important to all of us. I think the reason why we step out and come forward and want to run for political office or whatever we do care about this community. The slogan, "A great place to live," something that stays with me. It's been staying with me since I first ran for political office back in '91. Lost my first political race. The reason why you run for something here doesn't change.
Thank you, Joe. Next question will be directed towards Bob. You have 2 minutes to respond. If elected, what short-term changes would happen of your administration? Time frame, 90 days to a year.
Well, I think probably the foremost thing in everyone's minds are water rights. And we, as ever, continue to be steadfast in our campaign to lower our utility costs. For the past 8 years, we've elevated relationships with our federal representatives, our state representatives, and our local elected representatives, all with the same sight, with the same goal in mind. We have to have funding. There can't be non-funded mandates. It's not affordable. You can't expect citizens to pay the prices they're paying. As far as myself, what am I going to do? I'm going to continue with the efforts that I have, and that is working with EPA at the state level, with Paul Novak and Greg Smith, and at the federal level, with all the people that we've been introduced there, District 5 of EPA, Department of Health. Honestly, I feel that we are at a point right now where we can't turn back, and we're going to be given financial forgiveness relief, as well as the suspension that they gave us for CSO.
Thank you, Bob. Next response, Joe, for a 1 minute response.
Could you repeat the question?
Yes. If elected, what short-term changes would happen under your administration? 90 days to a year.
I think the biggest changes that we need to do is start to review some of the things that are on the table. Strategic plans, the biggest thing that we're starting to do at this point. I think what we need to do is move that closer to the front of the table and start. We have a lot of people that have a lot of input on how the plan should function, where me to take those recommendations and start putting something legislatively to make those happen.
Thank you. Final 1 minute response. Mike.
Obviously, initially, I'll need to meet the staff, let them know that I'm excited about working with them, hear about what their visions are for the city of Defiance. And I would most certainly like to start to think about a project. Several years ago, I worked on a kids creation project. I'm sure many people in this room worked on that as well. It was a great community project. It united the community. We all worked together on that project. And we need to do something like that again in Defiance. We need to do something like that again. But I know initially it's going to be a matter of meeting with the finance people and seeing where we're at on the money side. The unfunded mandates, I agree, those are an issue. I'm not sure that we need to target all of our energies on just trying to get the money to move forward with them. Let's look at those projects. Let's bring in some engineers and see if we can get some new ideas. Maybe the approach we're taking now is the wrong approach. Again, looking at the money, meeting the staff, seeing what their objectives are and their positions within the city, and working on some of these tough mandates that are ahead.
Thank you. Next question will be addressed to Joe for 2 minute response. If only able to serve for a 4-year term, how would you like your term to be remembered?
Being proactive instead of reactive. I think that's the biggest thing that we hear out in the community, reacting to a lot of things. That's why I said earlier, talking about the strategic plan, bringing those things forward. Start putting the big boards, put things out there that have been on the shelf or on our tables for a long time, and start to address those issues. And I think for the most part, once you start addressing them, like we're starting to do at this point, I think things start to happen. And the other part to it is the more we do with the conversation, the more it stays to the forefront, and we're able to put together, again, the legislation that's needed to bring it to fruition. And I think that's what's important. But I think if we don't do that, then we continue to be in some ways a reactive conditions that take place throughout the community. And I think for the most part, we're noted as being accomplishing some important things.
Thank you very much, Joe. Next, Mike, 1 minute response.
I think I'd like to get the financial house in order. It seems as though we only can react to situations. For as long as I've been involved in local politics, we've never had any money. We've never had any money. And a couple weeks ago, I was in Bryan, and on the front page of Bryan paper, I saw an old friend of mine, Tommy Moore, who's a city councilman in Bryan. They were talking about breaking ground for a new fire station. And the article talked about the city of Bryan had saved $400,000 annually for several years. They had several million to put towards this project. And I called Tom and I talked to him. I said, yep, that's exactly what we did. We did have to pass a tax levy to fund part of it, but we had a couple $1 million already saved up. Now that's what we all do personally. When we want to buy a car, we want to buy a house, we save money. We're going to get our financial house in order. In 4 years, I don't return to the office, then I'll say, well, we got the city's finances straight, and I will be content.
Thank you very much. And Bob, last response.
Please repeat, Isaac. I listened to their answer.
That's fine.
Question?
If only able to serve for 1 term, in your case, your 3rd term, how would you like to be remembered after that 4-year term?
I think the builder. I think Bob the builder sounds good. Honestly, we have done a lot over this past 8 years. Look at the physical changes that have been made. I think this is the most progressive administration this city's ever had. I think when you take a look at the new bridge that came in and the highway that's out in front of Defiance College, an $11.8 million project that cost the city zero. When you take a look at our downtown revitalizations and the programs we've done there, a $1.1 million project, again, it cost the city zero. We've done numerous things to improve our community and our quality of life. I think those issues stand forth in my mind. That's how I kind of like to be remembered as a guy who committed. This guy committed and he built the reservoir, he finished 24. He got the things done. He took care of the sewer issues that we had, and we passed on. I think that's what we do.
Thank you very much, Bob. Next question be directed towards Mike. First response is 2 minutes. What are your economic philosophies for the city of Defiance, and how would you use organizations like the CIC, the Chamber, the DDPB, and county organizations to assist in your efforts?
There's no doubt, I believe it was one of my first objectives is economic development. I look forward to working with those groups as well. I've stated publicly that currently I'm not convinced that the way we are handling economic development is in our best interest. I've also stated publicly that I would like to work more closely with county commissioners and township trustees. But in the area of economic development, I believe that we maybe need to have one person on board with the City of Defiance working on the economic development of the City of Defiance only. That their focus is the City of Defiance and economic development, not countywide. And that's going to take a transition period, I believe, if we choose to go in that direction. We just can't abandon our commitments to these other groups. As far as economic policies go, I think this North Clinton Street project is a great project. I think the downtown, probably in my lifetime, has never looked so good. And when we talk about the money that was used for that was stimulus money. That was Obama bucks, if you will. And every time I drive through there, I think to myself that to build that bridge and to fix up our downtown, I've mortgaged my children's and grandchildren's future. And I have a real philosophical problem.
Thank you, Mike. 1 minute response. Bob.
The question is, how would we work with CIC and the groups? It's a team effort. It's being part of a group. It's all of us working together, and nobody trying to micromanage the other. It's sitting down with the groups that need to be set with and talked to. Defiance is alive and well. We have businesses coming here. We've probably improved ourselves on the retail side by 100-fold over the last few years. We need industrial heads. Every community needs industrial heads. We're out there doing what we can. I think that we're real close with 2 projects right now. And I think that within the next, I'd say week, you'll hear of one, and in the next month and a half, you'll hear of another, both creating jobs. Look at the tech jobs that's came here. Those jobs that come in your community are really going over there. There's 4 or 5 people in that office and another 4 or 5 over there. Our town's growing that way.
Thank you, Bob. Final response, 1 minute. Joe. Again, I'll repeat the question. What are your economic philosophies for the City of Defiance, and how would you use organizations like the CIC, Chamber, DDPB, and County to assist in those efforts?
My thoughts are that economic development is about creating broad-based prosperity in our city. And you can't do it alone. And I think that's good. The organizations that you mentioned, Isaac, are central to making it all happen. Again, no one organization can basically do it all alone. It takes a lot of different ideas and a lot of different perspectives. And I think that's what makes it work. I think a lot of the good things that we've done in this community, that's how we've been able to accomplish a lot of things.
Thank you, Joe. Next question. Bob, you'll get 2 minutes to respond. What do you feel is the most pressing need facing our community today?
Again, I have to go back to it's our water bills, it's our utilities. We can't afford what we're being charged. There's no way that I want to sit in the mayor's chair and turn 50 people a month's water. It's horrible. When people have to pay $125 a month as an average water bill for inside water uses and $500 and $300 a month for outside water uses, it's unacceptable. I preached it to every person that I can imagine to preach it to. I've asked for help from every organization that I can imagine from. EPA, I believe, in the next year, is going to have to make some major overhaul. I think when you take a look at the country right now, EPA is being blamed for the recession that we're in. We can look at almost every industry, and the price of compliance is way beyond acceptability. When we had our meeting this past September in Columbus with EPA, they said, we're not getting the benefit that we should be getting from the money you spend. We're allowing you to stop for 2 to 3 years and see what we can come up with that isn't working. So we're able to put a freeze on our water bills for now. The freeze isn't good. We have to take those bills back to where they were before. And that's going to come when we get funding, when we get some financial forgiveness from our federal government or from ours.
Thank you, Bob. Joe, 1 minute response. What do you feel is the most pressing issue facing the community today?
I think, again, that we need to basically find solutions to our CSO problem. And I agree with some of the comments that Bob made in regards to what its effects are to the community. It's sad that you can walk to the grocery store and somebody's telling you about not wanting to be in their community anymore because of what the costs are to them and their families, and you have to make decisions on what they're going to pay or don't pay. It's not fair. I think what we're doing right now is probably the best solution to try to at least address the issue, since we have the consent order that we have to basically do the projects. The only way we can change it is by facts. And I think when we sit down and try to do other things like flow meters to find out where the actual problems are and maybe correct those problems and see if that satisfies the solutions.
Thank you very much, Joe. Final response, Mike, going 1 minute. Again, what do you feel is the most pressing need facing our community today?
I would have to agree. I believe that probably the one single item that is brought to my attention the most is indeed the water rates. I have said that I will ask an independent committee. I'm looking around at faces here and taking notes. An independent committee that will serve on a board that will look into how we collect water, how we treat water, how we distribute water, how we're handling our sanitary water, how we're handling our storm water. They'll work with the engineers. I certainly will be part of that. I'll be very proactive. I also think jobs is critical in this community. It would probably be easier for many people to pay their water bills if they had a job. And so we will work on that as well. So economic development, water rates, those are the two very key points that I will deal with in my administration.
Thank you, Mike. Next question. Joe, we'll start with you. 2 minute response. In your mind, what are the current inefficiencies with our city government, and how do you plan on addressing these issues?
What was that last part, Chris?
How do you plan on addressing these issues, these inefficiencies with our city government?
I think the biggest thing that we'd like to do would probably be to continue to evaluate our administration to make sure that they function the way it should be, and we're able to have the money so that our departments are able to operate efficient, effective, and provide the service back to the community that they're accustomed to receiving. I think anything that we try to do when we address the administration, a lot of times we find out where we're lacking in funds, what we need to do more in certain areas, or we're doing too much in some areas, and we have to adjust those. And I think that's what we've been doing probably for the last 3 or 4 years, addressing some of the administrative problems that are situations that we might have where, at least if nothing else, we're not throwing too much money in any one particular direction, but we're looking at the total budgets and making sure that all the departments are balanced and continue.
Thank you, Joe. Next in line, Mike, 1 minute for response. Again, I'll repeat the question. In your mind, what are the current inefficiencies with our city government, and how do you plan on addressing these issues?
We seem to have acquired a lot of real estate recently, and I have some concerns about that. At one time, our entire city operation was in one building at the corner of Perry and 3rd Streets. Now we've expanded down the street on Perry, and most recently acquired an armory. There's additional maintenance there, and those buildings have to be heated, they have to be maintained. That concerns me a little bit. I find it interesting when I take a few minutes to sit down with people that I work for and work with, and they think, and I ask them, what is it I can do to help you make your job easier? How can you do your job better? How can you do your job smarter? That's why I say early on, meeting with people that work for the city, talk to them, share with me your ideas. Tell me what you think. What can we do to make your job easier? How can we be more efficient?
Thank you, Mike. And final response, Bob, you'll have 1 minute. Again, I'll repeat the question. In your mind, what are the current inefficiencies with our city government, and how do you plan on addressing these issues?
Well, the biggest issue we have in inefficiencies is in our fire rescue. We understand that we can't go on the way we are. It's not affordable in what we're doing. Providing services to the surrounding area at really less cost than providing our citizens to people. We're working on the fairness of the issue. I think a lot of discussion is about what will we do? Can we ever regionalize fire and rescue? Can we address the rescue issue? What is it that we're going to do there? It's being worked through. We're allowing the townships and the fire chiefs of the townships together and come up with some type of suggestions that they can bring to us. Currently, we've raised rates, I think, 3 different times now to the point of where they're adjusted in. And we feel that if we aren't able to handle the fire rescue issue, it's going to become a big burden for the city.
Thank you very much, Bob. Next question will be directed towards Mike. You'll have 2 minutes to respond. What leadership qualities do you possess that would be considered strengths in the mayor's seat? Mayor Armstrong just asked, and I agree with his comment. I'll give 1 additional minute to the remaining 2 responders, so you each have 2 minutes to respond to this question. It is somewhat lengthy. Okay, no, not a problem. What leadership qualities do you possess that would be considered a strength in the mayor's seat?
Every morning I get up around 4 o'clock and I read the newspaper, I watch the news, I get ready, I go to Bud's, I have a bowl of oatmeal, a cup of coffee, and a large glass of ice water. I leave Bud's about 6:30 and head out to my office out north. I sit down, I look and see how much money I have, how much money he owes me, and how much I owe. I think those 3 things are very important. We go through the day's schedule, we plan our work, we work our plan, and that's what we do. And that's what we've done since my parents bought the business in 1969. In addition to my involvement with Service Master, for over 20 years, I worked as a college football coach. For 15 of those 20 years, I was a referee and crew chief, responsible for organizing the game day activity, working with television producers, to make sure that the kickoff happened at 12:06 or 8:07 or whatever time it was. Organizing. People maybe joke at that. People that have never officiated anything don't understand. It really does help you organize your thoughts when you're on a football field with mass chaos in front of you. And it's my responsibility to make sure that we have organized mass chaos. And I've always enjoyed that, and I've learned a lot from it. But I just believe that you acquire a lot of your leadership skills. Certainly, the years that I spent with my dad, Service Master, he was a true leader, and I learned a lot from him as well. I believe my experience in business is where I've acquired most of my leadership skills.
Thank you very much, Mike. Again, Bob, you'll have 2 minutes as well. I'll repeat the question. What leadership qualities do you possess that would be considered a strength in the mayor's seat?
For 27 years, I was a manager at General Motors, and while out there, I was asked to go to Saginaw, Michigan, and there's something called synchronous manufacturing, which turned out to be teamwork. We brought those ideas back to the plant, taught it to the more than 4,000 people who were there then. It's how to be a leader, the things that you have to possess, the qualities of trust, accountability, honesty, and integrity. You keep those in your pocket. Those are your beliefs and values. When we talk about problem solving, the best way to solve a problem, define the problem the best way you can. Get all the people involved in that set direction. get the buy-in from the people that work with you. You have that open door policy where you can sit and discuss and handle each of the organizations. Leadership isn't really about how you lead, it's about how you interact. It's how you work with each other and the policies that you have to work together. For the past 8 years, we've had those policies downtown. It's empowering the individual to do their job and supporting the heck out of them and backing them up in every way you can. I'm proud of the way the administration has adopted those principles of trust, accountability, honesty, and integrity. We insist that that's what you do, and I feel that that's the way you have to present yourself in life. Honestly, I feel that leadership skills are it's something that you get as you go, and the older I get, I think maybe a little mellower I get, maybe a little easier to listen to someone else's concerns maybe. So this is something that's come as a work in progress.
And finally, Joe, you'll have two minutes to respond to this question. Again, I'll read it. What leadership qualities do you possess that would be considered a strength in the mayor's seat?
I've been a union representative for 31 years, appointed in 1980, and I've had to assume a lot of duties and learning some information that I had to pass on to others. And what it comes down to is that what the union has taught me was that what you do is you put yourself out there, and you are the person that learns the information, you pass it on. And some other skills that relate to being able to lead, listen, compromise, and reach consensus. And with a lot of the things that we do, those are the things that we're doing in our office with the representation that we do. And for the most part, for the last 31 years in doing that, that translates out into the community. Those skills, the interactions, the same repetitious things happen when you lead, listen, reach consensus, or compromise and reach consensus on issues. It's always the same pattern. But what it comes down to is it started about 31 years ago, and it's progressed to today. And those are the leadership skills that I possess.
Thank you, Joe. Next question. We'll start with Bob. 2 minutes to respond. We'll go back to the original format. The following two candidates will have 1 minute to respond to that same very question. In regards to the CSO projects, which we've talked about already, what will be the role as mayor in the fight to make our water affordable and also gain funding for these unfunded mandates that are being sent to us by the EPA?
I have shared Ron and Bob Latta and Rob Portman on speaking. They understand very clearly the situation that Defiance, Ohio is in. We, of the 80 communities in Ohio, we're the poster child. We're the ones that are probably affected the most. We're in Columbus, and we're telling them we've got to make changes, and they've let us open our consent decree for the first time ever without going to court. This is a realization on both parts of what we're doing in right. We can't treat the communities this way that live in their state. And honestly, as I stated before, there's a real realization right now in government on both sides, from the EPA, from the federal government, that funding needs to come to the projects. There's no way that the people that live on a river should be responsible for keeping the Great Lakes clean. It should be everybody's job to keep the Great Lakes clean for all benefit. I think it should be federally funded, and I will work with it.
Thank you very much, Bob. Joe, 1 minute to respond. Again, I'll read the question. In regards to the CSO projects, what would be your role as mayor in the fight to make our water affordable and also gain funding to these for these unfunded mandates sent to us by the EPA?
Well, we tried to engage our Washington and state legislators to bring some dollars back in our community and that didn't work because in some cases they're too conservative to do that for whatever reason. I think the only other thing is to do is to challenge it based on the facts and proof of what it's actually doing to our community. And I think in our cases, to continue that process and bring in those facts and that proof to the people that at least will allow us additional time to redo what has been mandated for us to accomplish that's unaffordable. And the only thing we can do is, as myself, as if I'm elected mayor, is to continue that process.
Thank you very much, Joe. Next question. Or excuse me, I'm sorry, Mike, I forgot. 1 minute, Mike, for your response. Question will be in regards to the CSO projects. What will be your role as mayor in the fight to make our water affordable and also to gain funding for these unfunded mandates that are sent to us by the EPA?
You know, I was the middle child growing up as well. It just occurred to me. And I was often forgotten.
My apologies.
I will be engaged, to say the least, on this. Understand I'm an outsider right now, a businessman in Defiance, cleans toilets for a living. And I really think that the conversations that I've had with Congressman Latta, with Senator Height, if I can keep him on track, he likes to talk football with me, that there's more than just achieving funding. Maybe there's another answer. Maybe this project, as it's currently designed, doesn't have to happen. Let's look at a different way. Let's open the whole thing up, a fresh set of eyes with a fresh mayor, and see if we can attack this from a different direction. That's what I want to do with it. I don't know enough about it right now to really comment, but geez, give me a chance to really look at it, get engaged, bang some heads together if I have to, and change some people's minds about the direction we're going in.
Thank you very much, Mike. Next question. Joe, you'll start off with 2 minutes. Question is, as we have lives outside of our current positions and what would be your next position as mayor, how will you handle decisions that will impact personal relationships, your interactions with those individuals, versus what's best for the community? I'll read it again. And I don't, for your reference, I don't start the timer until you start speaking, so you truly have a full 2 minutes or 1 minute. As we all have outside of our lives, or outside of the position we have outside lives, how will you handle decisions that will impact personal relationships and interactions versus what's best for the community?
I think it's keeping focus on why you're there. I think is the most important. I had mentioned earlier that I have a great spouse that keeps me grounded, keeps me focused on
at the most another hour.
What's at task and what I need to do, and also the biggest thing is home is one thing, work is another thing, and I think what it comes down to is that you have to basically be able to sort it out in your mind of why you're there and what's important. And when issues do come up, and they might affect you on a personal level, decision that might address maybe some of your beliefs, whatever, you always have to look at, again, the most important thing of everything is who do you represent? And you can always say that you're doing this for yourself or a particular group, but most importantly, it's got to be for the greater good, just like everything else that we appropriate through the legislations. It's got to be for the greater good, and I think that's where we have to keep the focus.
Thank you, Joe. Mike, 1 minute to respond, and I'll repeat the question. As we all have lives outside of our current positions and what would be your new position as mayor, how will you handle decisions that will impact personal relationships and interactions versus what's best for the community?
I teach an ethics class. It's a 3-hour continuing education class that insurance agents attend. It's a great opportunity for them to get to know me and for me to get to know them. They need that CE, and we are happy to provide that. In that ethics class, we talk about different approaches to making ethical decisions. And I believe that's what you're asking. When I make an ethical decision, we talk about the rights approach to ethical decision making. What's best for the community? What's best for the taxpayers? What's best for the environment? What's best for all parties involved? I believe I'm perfectly capable of sitting down and looking at what is best for all those parties involved and making the decision, sticking to that decision, and moving forward.
Final response, Bob, 1 minute. Again, I'll repeat the question. As we all have lives outside of our current position and what would be your new position as mayor, how will you handle decisions that will impact personal relationships or interactions versus what's best for the community?
This happens more often than not. And it's simple. You just exempt yourself from the position. You remove yourself out of it. Let someone else handle it. That doesn't happen.
Thank you very much, Bob. Next question. Joe, 2 minutes. How would you reach out to the citizens of Defiance for feedback?
I think number one, I've said this before, that what you have to do is make your council chambers inviting to the members of our community. I know we have some repeat visitors who like to come and sit and address us, but I think we need to get more. I think that's number one. The other part to it is that maybe putting out surveys to the community where they can address us and continue to engage with us on a lot of issues that gets them involved with the decision-making process. And the more you do those types of things, the more that they feel that they're part of what's going on, and hopefully the more that they'll start to be coming to our meetings and offering opinions because they know that they're welcome. But I think what we need to do is probably those types of things where we chip away a little bit at a time as to why they don't engage with us. And I think in the end, we will have a lot more people making contact with us.
Thank you, Joe. Mike, you'll have 1 minute to respond. Again, how would you reach out to the citizens of Defiance for feedback?
Thank you. The Mayor's Advisory. I've talked about it for months. An eclectic group of people, made up of people from around the community, some young, some old. I think it'd be really neat to have someone on there, a high school student, maybe a student from the college, a business person, a housewife, a retired senior citizen. An advisory board. We meet regularly. It probably have to be a public meeting, and that would be okay. But a group that will come in and hold my feet to the fire on every project that's going on. I just love those meetings where we throw out ideas and we pound the table, we stomp our feet, but in the end, we've got a boatload of information from which I can make a decision. I'll make decisions on anything, but the more information I have, the better. If I said to you, what's 2 plus 2? You'd all out shout 4. And I'd say, no, you're wrong, it's 6. 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 6. You just didn't have all the information. That's right. That's right.
Thank you. Next up, Bob, 1 minute to respond again. How would you reach out to the citizens of Defiance for feedback?
Well, it's the way we do it every week, council meetings, radio, TV, newspaper, neighborhood meetings, the best media that we could do. We have an issue now before us, and the issue is quiet zones. We want to know if the city of Defiance wants the trains not to blow as they go through the city of Defiance. We're trying to get in. We're asking citizens to come down and tell us. We want to be able to make the right decisions. We know it's going to cost some money. We know we're going to have to step out some intersections. And we want to have all the good information before we go to the railroad and start making some plans. So it's fairly simple. Tom's always willing to come out and put a story on something that's worthwhile. I have a radio show every morning, every Wednesday morning. And, honestly, neighborhood meetings are really, really important.
Thank you, Bob. Next question, Mike, you'll have 2 minutes to respond. What will be your plans with current Board of Control?
I don't know the finance director real well. He's been in attendance at a couple meetings that I've been to as well. I don't really know much about John, but I can work with anyone, Isaac. I think I've proven that over the years. People that work for me, my customer, coaches on the football field. I can work with anyone. I get that question asked a lot. There are those that are on both sides of the issue. People think that the law director should stay. People that think the law director should go. But I believe for me to sit here today, having no real working experience with any of them, and decide on their future, and have Mr. Helberg write a story, McCann intends to fire this guy or McCann intends to fire that guy, would be extremely unfair. Between now and November 8th, what would those people be thinking? We'll get in, we'll work with them, we'll see how things go. I think maybe they have plans on their own, They may have their own plans, regardless of what my plans are. So I appreciate the question, but we need to get to know each other.
And time for reference, it's on record already. I got your notes for you. Bob, 1 minute for response again. What would be your plans with current Board of Control?
We have an outstanding Board of Control, people that are in the primes of their careers. I wouldn't change one. Now isn't the time for any change in city government. We have too many issues before us where too many communications, too many connections have been made that would take the next person in maybe years to make those same type of connections. So Board of Control works well. We work as a team. Each of us have input and we make good decisions. I wouldn't change anything, and I feel now would be very good time to make any changes.
Thank you, Bob. Joe, final 1 minute response.
I've got a lot of respect for the three gentlemen that are members of the board. I've worked with them for many years, especially John, who just came on recently. But I've seen Jeff and Dave at their best, and I've seen them when they had issues like the rest of us. I don't have any problem with them. As far as I'm concerned, they can stay as long as they want. I see them adjusted to different leaderships, and I don't think they have a problem adjusting to it.
Thank you, Joe. Next question. Bob, you'll have 2 minutes to address this question. I might add that this question had the most response rate that came back, meaning it came up the most. Very controversial issue. What is your opinion on issue 2 in Senate Bill 5 that relates to collective bargaining agreements and rights within the city of Defiance?
Within the city of Defiance and as the mayor, I firmly believe that the city of Defiance doesn't need issue 2 to pass. If it does pass, it won't make us any difference. We have bargained. We always get good bargainers with each other. I think that as we look at everything as an issue statewide, there are good reasons why issue 2 should pass and good reasons why it should fail. I take a look at my fellow mayor over in Lyman. Has a very tough time with his negotiation. Recently had to close 2 firehouses. I can see a big need there. Here, where we have good negotiations with all of our unions, why spoil it?
Thank you very much, Bob. As this question is somewhat of a lengthy one, I'll extend a 2 minute limit to both the remaining 2 responders. Again, next up will be Joe for a 2 minute response, and I'll repeat the question. What is your opinion on issue 2 in Senate Bill 5 that relates to collective bargaining agreements and rights within the city of Defiance?
I've stated publicly that I vote no on the issue. And I don't believe the reason why it's put before us was for the right frame of helping local municipalities with their finances and dealing with their labor costs. I don't believe when anybody puts something together that basically keeps somebody from being able to collectively bargain for issues that are important to them. I don't believe that those things are needed here in Defiance. I think we've been able to communicate effectively with contract issues. Both sides have been willing to give, and we've never had any problems as far as negotiations. I don't believe the need the state coming into and sitting at our table when it comes to bargaining for issues that are important to our folks.
Thank you, Joe. Final response, again, of 2 minutes. Mike, what is your opinion on issue 2 in Senate Bill 5 that relates to collective bargaining agreements and rights that pertain to the city of Defiance?
My opponents may well be right. It's an issue that we may not need in Defiance, but this issue is a statewide issue. It may be needed outside of the city of Defiance. It's a very emotional issue. It's two distinct sides. Those that favor a no vote have said that it's an attack on the middle class, it cuts salaries and benefits, eliminates pensions, and will cost jobs. That's simply not true. Those that favor a yes vote have been spreading their share of misinformation as well. Today's mail, if you haven't been home, you get one of each. You're right here. This is the firefighter. We even found a firefighter named Casey that's opposed to issue 2. But just reading here, I see bits and pieces of misinformation. And I think that's wrong. I think that's wrong. But to be fair and balanced, here's the side that says we should vote yes. They talk about the 2 issues that are polling across the board, everybody's in favor of, regardless of their position on issue 2. They talk about 15% towards their own health insurance and 10% towards their own retirement. They don't talk about everything else in the bill. It's not a perfect bill. There probably is no perfect bill. There's never been perfect legislation. There probably never will be perfect legislation. But I've talked to teachers. I've talked to firefighters. I know many of them, not just locally, but in the area. And some of them have said, you know, we've had it too good for too long. And they've even told me they will probably vote yes on issue 2. And I've thought about it a lot. And I will be quite honest with you, after much thought, I would be voting yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Next question, Joe, you'll have 2 minutes. What would be your plans for current city buildings and their uses? Buildings, period. I didn't write this question. All current city buildings. All right, Joe, go ahead, 2 minutes.
I think number one is what's probably the most important thing that we need to work on is trying to